Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Witness with Wahid. And tonight, I bid special welcome to my audience in the Maldives and all over the world. I also thank people who watch this on YouTube and via satellite. Ladies and gentlemen, Witness with Wahid is a program where we sit down and we share ideas. Last week I had for you Dr. Yasir Qadhi and introduced a man to you, and we talked about what it means to be happy in life. Tonight I have Brother Yasir with me again, and we're going to continue where we left off. So, Brother Yasir, last week we did talk a little bit about what it means to be happy, what it means to trust in our Creator, and that He is always with us. Tonight, I would like to ask you a few questions about being an American, being a Muslim. What it means to be a Muslim in a country that a lot of people think is non-Muslim. Now, I myself, I've been to the US, and to those people who say that the US is somehow anti-Islamic, I always say to them, not quite. You're not right there. But then, you are an American. Tell me.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Firstly, thank you for having me show on again. America is a very interesting country for many reasons. Let's even begin with its history of inception. What was America? It was a place of refuge for religious Europeans who felt they were being persecuted by the church. So Americans actually, the pioneers, if you like, the pilgrims that came, were actually persecuted Christians. And that developed an ethos of America that's very different than mainland Europe. Europe went a far more secularization route. Americans, by and large, still are, generally speaking, religious people.
Yes.
Levels of religiosity are much higher in America than they are anywhere in Europe. In some cases, triple some European countries in terms of belief in God and belief in the afterlife and whatnot. So Americans are much more shaped by Christian values and religious values than European counterparts. That having been said, of course, in the last 15 years, because of the repercussions of 9/11 and what they see on the news and whatnot, it is true that there is a rising tide of Islamophobia. But at the same time, one does not stereotype an entire nation or group because of the actions of a few. And those who live in America and those who are, with the people are better situated and informed. And I can tell you, as somebody who's been born and raised and living in America, that the average American is a very open-minded, very tolerant person. Yes, you see some bigots, the guy who wants to burn the Quran, the guy who wants to do this and that. Realize the reason why they're on the news is because they're the exceptions.
Absolutely.
If they were mainstream, they wouldn't be on the news, right? And their fellow Americans, many of them as well, are opposed to these types of actions. Now, having said that, yes, they do exist, and they have their followers and sympathizers. But like with every society, you have the good and you have the bad. Also, I want to make sure that everybody understands to not conflate or confuse certain issues of American foreign policy with the people of America. American foreign policy is governmental, and the people of America, by and large, are not connected with their own government's foreign policy. If I were to ask you as a Maldivian about your government's policies, what is this fishing industry there, what is this there, you probably wouldn't know much.
Absolutely.
You're just living your life and whatnot. People need to understand, America being the superpower that it is, right? It has certain agendas and policies that many educated people, I'm amongst them, disagree with, and say they're unethical and immoral. Guantanamo, invasions, this and that. We are all against this. But this doesn't mean the people of America are all supporting these things. Many of them are oblivious. Now that's not good, they're oblivious. But at the same time, it's not fair to blame them.
Absolutely.
And to say that they... So my point is, the average American, generally speaking, is very nice, friendly. I mean, you've been to Europe, you've been to America. You walk on the streets of Europe, usually people won't stop you and say hi and whatnot. Most streets of America
Oh, yes.
People will actually greet you,
Absolutely.
smile at you.
Absolutely.
Howdy, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Absolutely.
This type of friendliness, you just sense it there. And I'm not saying all
Absolutely.
of America is like that, but compared in contrast to Europe,
Yes.
I would say America is more religiously tolerant, more respectful of religion,
Yes.
more respectful of ethnic and racial diversity,
Definitely.
right, than many of its European counterparts. And frankly, as a Muslim living in America, I have to say, I believe that Islam is flourishing in America in a way that really no other Western country can claim. The Muslims of America are proud to be Muslims, and they're integrated in society. And there's no public and overt discrimination that they face when it comes to practicing their Islam. Islam in America is genuine. You go to the mosque, you go to Islamic conventions, you feel the pride. It's not cultural, because you don't have to be a Muslim in America. Even if you're born to a Muslim family, you can choose not to. So those who choose to practice Islam, you sense from them the beauty of Islam. Isn't that beautiful, to walk into a masjid, and you see by and large the beauty of Islam. So in some ways, the Muslims that are involved in Islamic stuff in America actually appreciate Islam much more than the Muslims living in Muslim majority lands, who are Muslim primarily because of cultural reasons. Go to Jummah simply because everybody else is going for Jummah, Friday prayer. There's nothing else to do, might as well go for Jummah. In America, you need to tell your boss, I need to take extended lunch break. You want to go for Friday prayer. So imagine the crowd that comes there that have to take off. They're sacrificing their time, their lunch break, maybe even some money and paycheck, but they want to be in the masjid. So now imagine being involved with that group of people.
This is true niyat.
This is true niyat.
Isn't that?
That's why being a Muslim in America is wonderful.
Alhamdulillah.
You feel the beauty of Islam, and you feel you're representing your faith in front of other people.
Don't you feel blessed?
I honestly do feel blessed to be a Muslim living in America, and America is a very free country. It really is free. The government cannot legislate against Islam. It's in the constitution that you cannot discriminate based on religion. And therefore, alhamdulillah, it's impossible to imagine a day where they can ban hijabs or jilbabs like they're being banned in some European countries. They cannot ban in multiple cases. People try to ban mosques being built. There are people that are racist, and every time the higher courts refuse and uphold. In multiple states, some of the bigots tried to ban Islamic law, Sharia. Not a single state was able to ban Islamic law on the personal level because they cannot ban it. It's my prerogative if I want to practice Islamic law in my life, right? Nobody can tell me unless it's illegal, which is not. Nobody can tell me. So alhamdulillah, I can tell you firsthand, Islam in America is alive, it's flourishing. And anybody who wants to be a Muslim in that land will appreciate its freedom and its diversity.
The founding fathers got it right.
The founding fathers in this sense got it right. Of course, there's a flip side. If you don't want to be a Muslim, there's plenty of vices, sins, iniquities. But then let me ask you, isn't that the case here and there and everywhere?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. What world is safe from that?
It's not.
Exactly. Drugs, alcohol, prostitution, everything. It's all there, everywhere you go. So then, it's not as if America is any different or worse or whatnot. This is the realities of the modern world. Every evil and every vice is available everywhere. Globalization.
And then I have this focused question for you. There is this thing called the ISIS. We keep hearing that as some kind of monster which is rearing its head somewhere out there. But not many people, if you ask them a few focused questions, will understand what it is. Where does it come from? What does it do? What kind of danger is it? What should we do about it? Shall we talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Sure, sure. So ISIS, of course, is a political and religious organization that is now established in certain areas of Syria and Iraq. And they're claiming to basically re-establish the global caliphate, the Khalifa that Muslims used to have. And they've, of course, reached notoriety and fame because of their tactics, because of some of their methods of beheadings and videotaping those beheadings and uploading them to videos, and you know, their intolerance, if you like, of people who are opposed to them. So no doubt the group is now front page news almost every day or second day. Muslims need to take a step back and ask themselves, what is going on? Unfortunately, many Muslims are not understanding the origins of this group. They think its origins are purely theological or Islamic. This is not the case. This group is the backlash, the repercussions of 30 years of civil war, invasions, toppling of governments, economic sanctions. This is what's going to happen when a region, Iraq, has been bombarded, quite literally, with weapons and bombs, and with economic sanctions, and with the political instability and the strife. Out of this chaos, when hundreds and thousands have been killed, when the people have been starved to death, at least 1 million children have died because of the sanctions for over 30 years. This isn't going back to the 90s, you will remember this. Going back to the 90s, Gulf Invasion 1 under Bush Sr., and then Gulf Invasion 2, and then the sanctions, and then whatnot. So what's going to happen when the dictator they supported, Saddam Hussein, becomes the dictator they toppled and then executed, right? You're going to get this entire chaotic political instability. There's no law and order. Gangs and militias that are reliving age-old feuds, Sunnis and Shias killing each other. What's going to happen? There has to be arm yourself, protect yourself. From this chaos emerges yet another chaotic gang.
Absolutely.
So the primary origins of ISIS are not the Quran. They're political issues of the region. People want some type of stability. And when it's not being provided to them, rather they're being driven more and more into chaos, what's going to happen? Weird ideas, cultic ideas, messianic ideas will spread.
In other words, if you mess around with a bunch of people for too long,
they're going to flip.
They're going to flip.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
I was going to say it in couch, in more diplomatic words, and say that.
That's exactly what is happening. And then when you continue to mess around, more and more younger people will idealize and romanticize this group as freedom fighters. See, here's the point.
You see, you've opened an absolute can of worms here. But what we'll do here is, we'll take a little break.
Okay.
And we'll be back with the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, permit us, I know the discussion's hot, but permit us to take just a 30-second break. Thank you.
If you close your eyes,
162
7,000 cities, taking turns to switch up their lives. Changed at all, and if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience. We are back with you, and I always am so thankful for your patience. Brother Yasser, we did open this can of worms. Yes. You know, like, you mess around with the people, they flip. You have so many psychological problems out there. Do you blame them?
Of course, every person is responsible for himself or herself. So I'm not exonerating them. You're going to go behead an innocent person. I don't care what you've seen to do that to an innocent person. It's one thing, in your anger, you kill a murderer, somebody's murdered you or your family, well, not murdered you, but murdered your family, you go and attack them. Maybe this person we can excuse for a little bit. But now you go and attack innocent people because your innocents have been attacked. There comes a point where you say, no man, that's just not right. You don't do that. And you're going to cause more. You cannot respond to violence with more violence, to terrorism with more terrorism. See, here's the point, Wahid. I, as an American, am completely opposed to my country's invasion, and my country's bombing, and my country's Guantanamo, and my country's Abu Ghraib. I am more angry than anybody else, not just because I'm a Muslim, but because I'm an American. So I have more responsibility to stand up and tell my people and my country, enough of this evil. But does that mean I go take an innocent journalist, I go take a Christian Iraqi, a Yazidi Iraqi, and just go slaughter them and say, oh, because of Guantanamo I'm going to do this? I mean,
certainly not.
What logic and reason is this, right? So here's the point. You are creating more animosity and more chaos. You are throwing fuel onto the fire. We both agree there's a fire, and that fire has been caused primarily by Western foreign policy. I'll be the first to say that, of course. What's the solution to the fire? Throw more oil, throw more kerosene, or throw water? You have to think long term. And if you don't have water, it's not going to help throwing more fire. Maybe for the time being, you'll just have to let things cool down. And here's the point. So America is a superpower. It's doing things here and there. There's not much you can do. False invasions there, toppling dictators there, supporting the wrong people here. What can you do? At times, we learn from the Prophet ﷺ, patience is the best medicine. Patience.
And God is with the patient.
And God is with the patient. At times, if you have the means, I'll be the first to say, our religion tells us, not even religion, human nature tells us, when there are oppressed people that are being killed and massacred and raped, you stand up and defend them. Who's going to say, what law is going to say this is not allowed? Of course this is Islamic as well. But you're going to defend innocence by killing innocents?
Nope.
Which law tells you this? Which book tells you this? Which Lord tells you this? Unfortunately, this is what's happening with ISIS. Is that their anger is coming from legitimate political grievances. I am angry, you're angry, every decent human, Muslim or non-Muslim, is angry.
Let me give you a situation from real life, but at a more mundane level. Supposing your neighbor throws into your house all his garbage. Okay? He just throws it over his wall into yours. He basically cuts down his trees, all the leaves, all the dead branches, everything comes into your compound. You reach out to the city authorities and whoever, you complain, you get the cops in there, nothing happens. No one listens to you. Tonight, bag of garbage floating into your house again. Right? You got no legal recourse. Nobody's helping you. Then what do you do?
So the analogy is not fully applicable in our situation and scenario because it's as if these people are taking their garbage and throwing it into other houses. Right? It would be one thing if you attacked against those who are attacking you. But they're not doing that.
Okay.
And rather than dealing with the aggressor, they immediately go and find people that have really nothing to do with the aggression. Sometimes with ISIS, multiple people have come to report on the aggression.
Okay.
Journalists. And instead of honoring them and saying, you know, thank you for taking photographs of what my neighbor's throwing. Thank you for wandering into this filthy neighborhood and telling the world it is filthy because of him. Rather than doing that, just because the skin color or the name sounds like the neighbor's, because that's in essence what it is, right? They take these people and behead them. What type of reasoning is that?
Okay, this is like the neighbor throws the garbage at you and you kick your dog.
Exactly. Exactly. What have you gained? Complete illogic. So in their rage, they have quite literally, in my opinion, lost their sense of even rationality. And they blame it on, or they find religious texts and precepts. I mean, you know, the classic issue of burning alive a Jordanian pilot, right? I understand they're angry the Jordanian pilot was sent to bomb them. I understand that. You will respond by burning him alive, which is not even you do to animals.
There's no humanity left.
There's no humanity. There are explicit prophetic traditions, explicit. No one is allowed to punish with fire other than the one who created the fire. This is explicit from the mouth of our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Never use fire.
You never use fire to torture, and yet this is what they wanted to do. So what type of religion is this in our history? In our history, no legal scholar, no faqih, has said this is what needs to be done.
What do you think? Where do you think the solution to this lies?
Well, if you look historically at these extremist organizations, they always burn out. Always.
On their own.
On their own. They extinguish their own fire. Because after a while, they start devouring themselves. They become too radical even for themselves. And I think the classic example is Al-Qaeda. We thought Al-Qaeda is going to be, you know, what's going to be worse than Al-Qaeda? What happened? ISIS comes along. And all of a sudden, Al-Qaeda looks like a kitty cat compared to ISIS's lion and tiger now, right? What's going to happen? We're going to get an even more bizarre. And there's twofold solutions. Number one, you solve the root cause of the problem, which is the political instability, which is all that's happening in the region. That might be beyond my and your control, but it will happen eventually, inshallah. And the second, you deal with the immediate issue through the theological text. Those who are flirting with this ideology, those who are on the fence, Those who are open-minded. Because once you're closed-minded and stubborn, what are you going to do? If you want to believe the world is flat, I can't convince you otherwise. Go. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
you want to tell me there's no sun shining up, then I can't tell you to look up, and you have closed your eyes. I can't. But for those who want some, then for them you open the door. Let's read the Quran. Does Allah tell you to go kill innocent people? Let's read the Prophet's seerah. Let's read his lifetime. How many times did he forgive? And when and how was jihad legislated? Yes, there's jihad. Who's going to deny it's in the Quran? But look at the Prophet's jihad. Look at who he fought, how he fought them. Look at his rules. Look at his mercy. Look. And then compare. So who can you talk to like this? The one who has an open heart and mind. For him, let's go. And so that's the second tactic, education.
I've heard that these guys are actually currently recruiting people, even from amongst us.
Yes, they are. They need people. Every organization needs people, right? They have a human resources department, right?
Sacrificial goats.
Well, there are plenty of young men and women who are disillusioned with life. They think they'll find self-worth and happiness.
Again.
And they'll find validation for who they are. They'll be made to feel very important. It's the same reason why people join gangs.
Identity.
Identity. They feel now religious people are not going to join gangs. What are they going to join? Either if they're truly academically religious, they will do what I and others did, and that is to go study Islam with trained ulama and scholars. That's what you should do. But that's a long, rigorous process. There's a quick one-step solution. Go and join them, ISIS. You get raised in rank and promoted, you become a glorious fighter, you this and that, you're wearing this, and it makes you feel like you've done something.
Part of a group.
They
You have
are.
your identity.
They are.
You're made to feel important.
They are made to feel important. That's
You get the
exactly
plastic key
point.
to heaven.
Exactly, a plastic key, exactly. That's the reality. So for these young men and women, those who are thinking about it, we say, study, research, ask the people of knowledge, right? Don't believe the outer hype, the facade. Go deep inside and ask. This is a matter of, you are literally getting involved in killing people. Think about this. Do you think your Lord wants you to do this? Do you really think your Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah describes him as the rahmah, the mercy for the world?
Exactly.
Do you think this is his religion? Ask yourself, look at what you see on TV. Is this what he would do? Don't quote me here and there. This message that you see, is that? No. So then, for these people, education. So you said, what is the solution? I said, twofold, political and educational. Political, I'm not a politician. If I were, I would be emphasizing that more. But I'm not. My job then is the education. And that's what I am doing.
So simply reach out.
Reach out to those who are open. As I said, there are those who are not open. You can't do anything to them. But those who are open, listen, debate, talk. And that's the way forward.
So shall we try this? I'm going to take a risk here, with your permission.
Go ahead.
Young people out there, if you feel that you are somehow lost, you got nothing to do, you lost your identity, you want to be someone, you want a little bit of happiness in there, and if there's nowhere to go to, come to us. Go to him. If you feel somebody to talk to, this is my commitment to you. You know me. If you feel that kind of lost and desperate, look out for me. I'm the guy on that pink Vespa. Raise your hand, I will stop and talk to you. Reach out. That was a personal message, but I think with your permission I have given that commitment, and I will honor it. If there are any young people out there who feel lost,
we don't want you to lose your life. We don't want you to waste your life. Be productive. Do something useful for the ummah. Going there and just becoming another statistic of a number of person who has died, that is not useful to the ummah. You know, it's easy to think that you're dying for Islam. Show me how to live for Islam.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Live for it. Enjoy life. He's given us so much in the way of blessings. Appreciate it. Take off it, of what is legal. Would you agree with that?
Of course. Allah has created us in this world. We live in this world. We worship Him. We get the next world.
And all these ni'mah that He has given us,
Exactly. Exactly.
why don't we take off them?
Exactly.
And look at this country.
Beautiful country.
Isn't
mashallah.
it?
Yes.
Isn't
Allah
it?
has blessed you with a little Jannah on earth. Take advantage of it. Alhamdulillah.
Sometimes we don't use it.
People come to your country because Allah has created this area one of the best in the world. One of the best, most beautiful, mashallah.
And then
Don't take it for granted. Take care of it. Let me also change topic a little bit.
Please.
Take care of your ecology, your green movement here, your energy resources. Don't ruin it. Allah has blessed you, and then there's the issue of the global warming and whatnot happening with the raising. SubhanAllah, I mean, there's theories that this country might not even be here after 50 years.
You know, my faith on that issue, it will be.
Inshallah. I also hope so. Exactly. But we need to do our job.
Absolutely.
We need to do our job. So preserve this beautiful heritage and culture. Thank Allah for what He's given you. Be proud of your heritage. Like I said, 1,000 years of Islam in this country. Amazing thing. Amazing thing,
Isn't
mashallah.
it?
Yeah.
But
Alhamdulillah.
the thing is, again, that little discouraging feeling that sometimes, as a middle-aged man, I go out there and I see so much. I look at young people's faces, I look into their eyes. Sometimes there's this blank look.
Yep.
And kids, that really saddens me. I don't blame you. I do not blame you. But if you ever feel the need for a little bit of happiness, sometimes look inside yourself, look up there. Would you go with that?
Yeah.
So tell me, any last bits of advice for Maldivians, except the ones you've just given us, about staying strong in life? You know, there's this thing about sometimes losing identity. We touched on this. How do you deal with this? If you feel like a nobody, like worthless, you know, like your life is meaningless, what would you do? What would be the first step?
Well, you need to discover yourself. And how do you discover yourself?
That's easy to say, but then...
Yeah, so you need to talk about your multiple layers of meanings, your religious identity, your cultural, your ethnic, your national identity. And so the more you study and connect with these other identities, simple reality, any person who studies his own history all of a sudden appreciates his background better. Simple reality, isn't that the case?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then when you study your religion as well, what's going to happen? You'll also feel a connection. You study your family, particularly your family tree. Go to your grandparents and whatnot, and you find out the stories from them. So there are multiple layers of identities. There's the religious, there's the national, there's the local villages that you have, or the islands, there's the family, whatnot. At each of these levels, go and find out who you are. And as you find out your roots, you will come to discover yourself. And this is actually, I have done this in my own life, religiously and also ethnically and family line. I've done a lot. I've done a massive family tree of my own. Because again, I feel this is necessary to know who am I, where did I come from. And it's very humbling. Let me tell you just one bit here. It's humbling to know 5 generations ago, my ancestors were Hindus.
Absolutely.
We converted 5 generations ago. So to know that other people of other faiths, my own great-great-great-great-grandfather was worshipping other than the God that I'm worshipping.
Some of my ancestors were Buddhist, obviously.
So that humbles me. It makes me appreciate, somebody must have been nice to him. Somebody must have been kind. How can I look down at somebody else now? Because they're of a different faith and I scowl and angry at him. Somebody must have done something to my ancestor that he converts to Islam. So that other person that I see of another faith, I have to show them the reality of my faith. Doesn't that humble me to know? Doesn't it humble you?
It does.
So when you meet now a Buddhist or a Hindu, in your heart there must be the concern for his welfare as well.
He is of us and we are of him.
Exactly. Rather than hatred and scowling, it's your brother human being. Right?
Absolutely.
Show the good of your faith, let him show the good of his, and Allah Azza wa Jal will be the one who guides.
And ladies and gentlemen, what a beautiful message for all of us this evening. I have to thank you, my brother Yasser.
Pleasure is mine.
Yasser,
Thank you very much.
This is extremely kind of you. It's been a blessing to have you on my program. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that doesn't allow us any time anymore. So I will be with you, inshallah, hopefully another week. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. Count your blessings. Be happy. Be yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.